Within our souls, we all possess a dream which lay dormant until intrigue strikes its match and sets the torch we carry ablaze, leading us down the path of the unknown towards our dreams. As coaches who are former high-performance athletes, our personal experiences have shown us that a coach, parent, or even a fellow athlete have the potential to either illuminate or extinguish the dreams of young athletes. Nothing is lost from the candle which lights another. We are here to share our stories and our passion to illuminate the champion within, empowering coaches, parents, and athletes to keep the flame of their dreams burning eternally. You are listening to Illuminating Champions with Michal and Ashley Anton. Welcome to another episode of Illuminating Champions. For our first-time listeners, my name is Ashley, and I'm here with my husband, Michal.
Hey, how are you guys?
And we also have a very special guest with us today. He is our personal coach, our mentor, our brand artist, and his name is Mark Patterson. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. So today's episode is entitled Carrying the Lantern of Dreams. And it's all about the role that coaches play in the life of athletes and how they carry that lantern filled with dreams, lighting the way for the athlete down their path to complete their journey towards their biggest aspirations, and how invaluable they are in that role that they play, how they have to make sure they always remember how delicate that lantern is, that it's filled with hopes and dreams and the intangible, yet the most important things in the child's life at the time that they are enrolled in sports. So to help us dive further into this notion, Mark is going to ask us some questions to help the listeners better grasp this concept, which is so important to us every single day that we come into the gym and we're working with athletes. And we'd love to really share how we feel on this. So why don't you start us off, Mark?
Sure. Well, I like the idea that this episode is about dreams because I think that's a critical component that a coach is so important in that to help someone lead them through the path of learning the physical skills and then developing their character and that. So the idea is in the midst of all that, a coach can get sidetracked or they can get sidetracked thinking I need to build my business bigger. I need to expand. They can get into the concept of success and growth and being a famous coach and lose sight of that dream. So in your best version or your best explanation, how does a coach stay on track with doing that lantern carrying?
Well, the coach has to remember that when they go into the gym or whatever their sports atmosphere is, why they're there. And they're there to greet children who are walking in on the other side of that door with a dream. And that dream is normally the most important thing in their life at the time, because a lot of time they start sports at an adolescent age. They don't really have too many other responsibilities. They're not thinking about going to work or caring for a family member or a child. They're thinking about what they want to accomplish within that sport. And for every child, that's something different. But they are all walking in with this sense of wonder and love and passion to grow within their sport and to reach what they aspire to. And the coach needs to remember that that's the primary reason why that child is coming in, and they're looking at you wide-eyed and full of love and expecting that you are there to carry that lantern of their dreams and to guide them down their path. And they really have this very high expectation that their dream is just as important to you as it is to them. And that's a huge responsibility when you look at it that way. You have to look at it in the eyes of the child. They trust in you fully with with what you're going to teach them skill wise, and they trust in you fully that you are the one that is going to lead them down that path, and you are the one that's really there to support them, to believe in them, to show them that they can accomplish more than they're even imagining at that moment. And you are that person, and you have to hold yourself accountable to continue being that person, no matter what's going on in your personal life, what's going on in your professional life. When it's time for practice, you have to center yourself and, be mindful of what's going through that athlete's heart and what's going through their mind as well, and just remember the impact that you're making can be lifelong, and you want that to be a positive lifelong impact. So I don't know if you want to add to that,
Yes, you see, like
Mihal.
in America, excuse me, sports are business.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? But it's a very funny way of business, because it's not business like every other business. Understand? You get paid to work with someone's dreams. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
You have that athlete that comes in your gym, have a dream. You work with someone. It's a profession. It's a very, very professional approach to that, to the business aspect. Then you cannot, how to say it correct without making too many people angry. So
you,
not be too. I don't
you
want
have
to
to
be too
have very high
harsh on people.
integrity. You can't be
Yes,
misleading.
you cannot look at an athlete as a dollar bill.
Yeah,
Understand?
they're
You
not a
cannot look at the
commodity.
students as a dollar bill. They are not $100. Understand? They are a human being with a big dreams that you have to help them achieve it, or at least guide them towards that achievement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why we go back to what the past episodes when we talk about coaching with honesty, right? With no ego, right? Those things are important for that reason, because if you let ego and you're not honest, then you are going to look at the money you can make, and then you just look to have, I don't know, 300 athletes in the gym just because you make money, and guide them incorrectly and make them to believe they can achieve a dream that they never gonna achieve it, because you don't give them the skills and the tools to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? Like gymnastics is one of the sports that's very easy to misguide an athlete that way, because
Mm-hmm.
you can put a kid in a level that they don't belong there for both reasons. One, they are not good enough to be in the level, and the other one, they are like way too good to be in that level. Then you hurt both. Understand?
Right.
And that happen a lot. Like if you go to gymnastics competition, you're gonna see a lot. Like you see kids, especially with the higher levels, that are very status
Mm-hmm.
levels, right? Like level 7, the optional levels. You see kids that compete those levels, but they are not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like they are not ready because they don't score perfect tens. They really barely have the requirements to compete. And even if they do the smaller requirements, the easiest one, they barely execute those to land them in competition. And then you know that when you watch someone barely surviving a handspring step out on the beam, and she does it 4 times in a row the same way, and you see the coach sitting there like with no reaction, you know that kid does it like that all the time, and they are used to it. Because even for me, like I go sometimes to competition and my heart stops. I watch a child performing a trick, and I'm like, and I, as an athlete, I was a crazy one. I was the one that the coaches used to be like, "Hey, stop! Don't do too much." Like I was never afraid. You know. But as a coach, when I watch and I see it, and I know that if the coach has no reaction, that's mean they are very used to it. And then, that's how to say it. That's the environment where money talk.
Mm-hmm.
And those kids are in that level just because they pay $400 a month to be in level 7 or level 8. But
Right.
they don't belong there. They could compete in a different level where they could be competitive and feel good about themselves,
Yeah.
and
You.
not have the stress of, oh my God, I'm going to survive this competition,
Right.
I'm going to do my handspring step out on the beam.
Right. And you never, I mean, coaching, I think, is one of the most beautiful things in the
Yeah.
world. It's something that's so special to be able to do, because you do get to work with children or whatever age group that you work with, but you're working with something so invaluable. It's a dream. That's the most powerful thing that we have. I think, other than love, and I think they go hand in hand. So you have to remember that all the time. You never want somebody to get the impression that you're coaching for money, or you're coaching just for your own personal glory or fame. You always want them to feel that you're coaching because you love what you're doing and you
Mhm.
care about that person feeling fulfilled in their life, that they have the tools to, get closer to their dream and reach out and grasp it. And that you also play this large role of being a mentor in their life. You have so many opportunities to make a lasting positive impact and provide somebody with the emotional skills that they need to carry themselves through their most challenging moments in life. Even 40 years down the road, they can remember a small phrase that you once told them as a young child. And that's so special to play that role in someone's life. So I think that as coaches, we all, have, of course, daily stressors and different variables in our lives, but we have to stay grounded and we need to all stay centered and remember the importance of what we are doing at all times, and always aim to be that positive light in someone's life that's there eternally. And you have that blessing that you get to be an eternal figure in somebody's life if you really put your full heart into what you're doing and you really make your
Sorry to
largest
interrupt you. Even
attempt.
if you don't, but you're gonna
Yeah,
be in a negative way.
that's the
Understand?
other.
Like
You
no
don't want
matter
to be
what
a
they're gonna do,
jerk.
they're gonna remember you, but they're gonna remember you, and
No,
not in a
that's really a good point. You
Yeah,
think back. I think any listener could think back on their lives, on the handful of people, or just one or two people that
right.
really touched them, that they felt connected with them, that were concerned about their growth. But they could make a long list of teachers or coaches who did not pay attention, didn't focus, didn't have this illuminating champions mindset. So I think it's really interesting to think it's a double edged sword. You can
Mm-hmm.
illuminate or you can extinguish
yes.
that
And it's
dream.
very hard. Look, it's very hard. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not giving coaches excuses, but it's hard as a coach to always be perfect.
Right.
Understand? And always like that's why we talk in the past. The parent has to work very well with the coach in order for them to help the athlete. And sometimes the parent has to understand that part too. That you work with so many different personalities that sometimes the coach, for example, he approached one athlete one way and the athlete is happy and the other one is not happy, and then the coach learns that, understand, what happened,
Mm-hmm.
you know then it's very important for the coaches to always be open-minded and to always pay attention. That's the key. Like you have to pay attention, you have to try to understand every athlete personally in order for you to not make mistakes. Like one athlete can like it, love it, the way you speak with him, the way you help them, the way you train them, and the other one doesn't. And
It's a lot like, I guess, coaching. The average person can understand it from the teachers we've had.
Right.
A teacher has to teach a class. When I was in school, 30, 40 people in a class. Well, you have to teach all of them,
Mm-hmm.
and so you have to. It's hard to get to know each one and to know the nuances, but somehow the best teachers do try and deal with that. So your idea of illuminating is fantastic, and I think that's part of a key part of your success in what you're doing.
because look, I always give example Nadia Comaneci. Look at Nadia and Bella Caroli and Marta. You have athletes that go out there and they're like, oh, they was abusive, they was like this, they was like that. Nadia never said nothing bad about it. And not because they forced her. Or Nadia really loved Bella and Marta. Didn't matter how they coached back in Romania at the time. For her, that was the way she was fine with it. Understand? Is that correct? No. For the other girls, and I work with some of Nadia teammates back in Romania. For the other girls that were her teammates at the time, was not good. But for Nadia, the way Nadia saw it, for her was fine, and she's never gonna talk bad about Bella and Marta. And people also has to respect that for her. You know,
Well, I think it just goes back to your intent. Of course, everybody's perception can be different. Everybody has a different preference in the style of approach that they enjoy best and that they connect with best. But Everyone needs to feel that your heart is in the right place and you're really making your largest effort to connect with each student and care for them, and that you are cradling and nurturing their most delicate um, thing, which is the intangible dream that they have. And you just need to be there and be mindful of the fact that that means so much to them. Every single practice that they walk in, they have this large goal day by day that they're trying to attain, and it's a very emotional ride, and you need to be there to hold their hand through it and uplift them when they're down, make them feel inspired all the time that they can dream bigger, and just make them realize that you really care about what they're doing and you care for them as a person more than you care for them as, you know, a paycheck or
Mm-hmm.
or a accolade on your resume that you've coached
Like a
someone
trophy.
to, yeah, a trophy to a certain level, or you've won
Mm-hmm.
so many titles. You care for them first as a human being, and you're cognizant of what they're going to take away.
They have to feel exactly what I told you in the past episodes, that you are their coach in the worst day.
Mm-hmm.
In the best day, it's easy because everybody's happy. The day you win a
Mm-hmm.
gold medal, you are standing on the first place. Everybody wants to take selfies. Everybody wants interviews, right? But the day that you fell 50 times and you come in the last place, not many people are going to talk to you. Everybody who opened the door for you when you had the gold medal and the big trophy in the Olympics, they're going to close it. They're going to walk by you and they're going to be like, I don't know you. I was in that situation as an athlete, and I know. It's just how it is. It's life. But the coach has to be there for you in that moment. You see, I have coaches that didn't been for me there. They've been for me. No, they've been there for me when I was on the first place. But the second I was not on the first place, I didn't matter. And it's not like I just didn't matter. They make you feel like you not matter.
Mm-hmm.
And no, the job
Sure.
of a coach is to make you feel that you are so important in that moment when it's the hardest. In competition, in training, in life, you
Mm-hmm.
have, I don't know, you didn't pass some test in school, the sport coach can help you. Because if you come in the gym and you are upset about it and we talk about it and I motivate you and I help you and I'm there for you and I respect you and I don't think about you that you're not smart, and you know
Right.
then
But
you're gonna go back and you're gonna perform better.
well, coaches are like athletes, have different skills. They performed differently. They had different careers or expertise, and they also have different, let's call them life skills. Some are more caring, more approachable. So, in a way, can an inexperienced coach, be as effective as a coach as a big Olympic coach, in your opinion?
Yeah, they can learn. Not You're not gonna be right from the beginning the best. Like, look, when I start coaching right. I retired from the national team and I was coaching already. I was playing around with coaching,
Hmm.
and then I start coaching. Yeah, I was very good at coaching technically. Like, sounds cocky, but I was. I knew how to spot very well. I knew how to technically explain something. I was very good with conditioning training and specific conditioning training. I was very good like with explaining things, right? But I was not as good as I am today.
But you had to
I was
learn the life side, right?
yes,
Because
yes.
you had a bit of an attitude, it sounds like.
Yes. It's just not the attitude, but was also like, especially the psychological part. Like, you think you know it, understand? And even then, like, I thought, like, oh, I'm good, I know it. I knew I know better than the coaches that I came from, the one that coached
Mm.
me, right? I thought I'm better than them in my head, you know. But then life put me in a situation where I realized, I was like, wow. Like, I give you an example. When I came to America in 2007, they brought me here. They brought me in the gym and they make me do mom and tots is called the
Mom
class.
and Tots,
I
yeah.
barely speak English.
Like a mommy and me
Yes, those
class.
girls are like 18 months old. I step foot on the floor and I smile and the kids start crying. And I was like, I got scared. I was
Some of
like,
them are
what?
afraid of men
You
at
know
that
what I mean?
age.
Then I have kids in classes. In my country at the time, we didn't have recreational classes. It was gymnastics. You come at 5 years old, you come to the gym and you go to the Olympics. You train to go to the Olympics. You don't train to do recreational gymnastics. I didn't know what recreational gymnastics is, you know. And I have kids that come in and they are not athletic at all, and they want to learn a cartwheel, they want to learn a front roll. Now I'm going from like teaching a triple flip 11 years old little girl on floor, which was crazy, right? To spot a front roll.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the point where I couldn't speak English. I couldn't understand like how I'm going to teach these kids, because they are not athletic. They are not Olympian, understand? But they love the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got frustrated with myself at one point, to the point when I was like, you know what, I'm not a good coach. I want to give up. Then I met her, and she started teaching me English, and I started talking to her, and she always like praised me for my knowledge in gymnastics. Like, oh, you come from Romania, I did this. She knew who I coach. And I was like, yeah, but I cannot coach those kids. You know, I'm like, I'm not a good coach. And then I told myself one day, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to give up. I have to learn how to coach that child that is not athletic at all. If I can teach that girl to do a perfect front roll or a good cartwheel, and she's happy with that cartwheel like she won the Olympic Games, then I'm a good coach. Because triple flip, 4 twist, and those things are easy. Right. You know, because that athlete that's going to do that, it's athletic. Let's put it this way. Has athletic skill, has mental skills, has everything, psychological skill to do those very hard tricks. The one that struggles with the handstand is the one that's challenging him for the best coach in the world. Mm-hmm. Then if you're able to teach that child, mm-hmm. then you are a good coach. And then time got by, and one time she asked me, it's like, oh, what do you think? Like, why you don't go back to Romania? You go there, you coach, you know, obviously I'm going to make it very fast up to the top. And I told her, like, yeah, I can make it to the national team, maybe if I go. But I said, I don't want to, because I like it here. And then she asked me, she's like, yeah, but you didn't coach here in America at that high of a level yet. Like, we didn't get girls to coach at that level. Like, what do you think? Like, how you going to handle, like, that high level, like the Olympic level? And I told her, like, you know, when I left Romania, I was maybe one of the best the best young coaches coming up. I said, now my knowledge is 20 times better, because those kids here that struggle make me a better coach. Mm-hmm. The triple twist and the triple flip and the double layout and all those crazy big tricks, those stays with me forever because I did them, understand? But the knowledge that the kids that struggle give me, the unathletic little child that wants to learn a front roll give me, it's incomparable.
Incomparable.
Yeah. I couldn't get it in my country because I was never exposed to that. Understand? Now I'm a better coach. Now I'm like, I believe in me, I was very good in Romania. I will tell people, like, I will beat you at the next competition. Understand? I was that cocky, you know? Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I give you an example. One time that's the story. I was at the international competition in, I think it was in Serbia. Novice, yes, in Serbia. It's called DKMT. It's a Euro region for like young kids.
DKMT,
yes, in English. My spelling is not perfect. Anyways, and Deva, which was the national team, is the senior national team and the junior national team. They came to that competition too, and I was there with my girls, and they beat my girl on bar. My girl name at the time is Manuela Russo. She was very good on bars. And they beat my girls on bars, but they beat them with the judges. Understand? Mm-hmm. And we was at the party after the competition, and the coaches from Deva was smirking at me. Like, we beat you, you know? And I told them, that's the last time you win. And we came back, that was in the summer. Mm-hmm. We came back to the national in November, and Manuela became national champion. She got a 975 on bars, you know? Then she got a big trophy for the highest scores in the whole competition, and she was so happy because Sandra Izbasha, at the time, she was a senior. She beat Sandra Izbasha, like she got like, Sandra Izbasha didn't get a 9.75, like she got a higher score than Sandra Izbasha. Although Sandra Izbasha was like 10 levels ahead of her. The guy was a world champion, you know, but she was so happy for that. But that's how I was, you know, I was very, how to say, like, I trust my abilities, but now learning here with kids that come recreational, with kids that struggle, with kids, and that's why it's important for the coach, especially like you said, the new coach, the one that comes in, have patience, you know, work with the kids that struggle, but have patience, don't get annoyed, you know. And a lot of coaches, they have the tendency, like, you know, they look at it like, I'm a better coach than this. Like, I'm not going to coach Excel bronze. For example, gymnastics, right? Girls gymnastics, Excel bronze is like...
the most novice level.
The most novice level to compete. They're like, I'm not going to coach that. It's not my, you know, I'm way too good for that. No, for me, I coach everybody. I coach classes. I told you, I work with kids with Down syndrome. My biggest pleasure is to work with kids with problems. Understand? With kids that struggle, because they teach me the most.
Right.
And that's the secret for the novice coaches. The one that's new, like, have patience and work with the ones that struggle. Try to take your time. Try to understand them. Understand? And when you start doing those things, then you learn.
Yeah, well, I think for you, you knew the skills of coaching, you knew the psychology of coaching, but you bettered your skill teaching and your psychological approach being here because it is exactly what you said. You're working with a wider array of abilities, a wider array of interests. It's not just the child that's very naturally inclined to do the sport and has all of the drive and the notion in their head that I'm going to go in the gym 8 hours a day, 7 days a week until I get to the Olympics. You're working with everyone in this country. And I think you really learned to coach on a deeper level because you were able to experience working with that. And I think it is really important, like you said, for coaches who are new to be patient even with themselves and to take time to start from the very bottom. Go teach a 3-year-old how to do gymnastics, but really teach them how to do gymnastics, not just to run around the gym and have fun and jump in the pit and, play on the trampoline. It's not just that. Try to reach them on a deeper level. Try to get them to understand basic concepts. And then that's very challenging when it's someone that's very, very young, because you cannot just explain, even something that you look at that's simple, like straighten your legs. Well, a 3-year-old doesn't know what a straight leg or a bent leg is. And they don't know how to feel what that is. And they don't know how to process how to make their body do that while they're in the midst of a skill. And it's not impossible to teach them either, just because they're little. So I think it's important to try to work with wide age range, challenge yourself, try to really get into the minds of very young athletes and get them to understand the physical of what they're doing. That will help you very, very much when you go back and teach someone that's older and more athletically inclined to the sport, because you had to really, really go down to the most childish version of someone and figure out how they're going to grasp what you want.
Well,
and then it's easy to explain to someone that's
this
older.
is a funny story. This is a funny story. My boxing coach, professional boxing coach, very good boxing coach, actually. One time, like, I was finishing training with him, and we go to have a dinner because it was like nighttime, and we stop and we start eating. And I was a little bit depressed at the time, like I was going through like hard time, and I was a little bit like down mentally. And I look at him and I said, "Man, I don't know. Like, I don't think so, man. I'm a good coach. I'm like, I don't know if I do the right things. Like, I don't feel like I held those kids correctly." And he looks at me and it's like, "Michael, it's like, I saw you teaching kids doing backflips that don't know how to tie their shoes." And I look at him and I'm like, "What?" He's like, "My daughter," like, because I was working with his two girls. It's like, "My daughters, they didn't know how to tie their shoes when they bring them to you, and you teach them how to do a backflip." And then I realized, like, because in my head, you see, for people to understand, in my head, the story at the time was like, I was not coaching elite gymnastics. I was missing, how to say, like, in my head, I was missing that high level of skills, because my gym was small. I was just opening a gym. I had a floor. I didn't even have a full gym. Like, I was coaching just back handspring and run that handspring tack and maybe a full layout, And I was missing doing gymnastics at a high of a level. I was missing being at a big competition, And that was wrong, actually, because then when he told me that, and I sit down for a second and I thought about what he told me, I was like, it's like, you know what? I do more for those kids than I will do for someone that's already talented. You know what I mean? Because those kids, they appreciate it more. Like his daughters, even today, if I meet them somewhere, they will talk to me and they will see me. They will be happy to see me. They will remember stories they couldn't do a back bend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the beauty of coaching, is you have to be humble to coach everybody, not just the one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the problem is, because you hear people around, like especially here, like in my state, in Connecticut. Since I come here, I always hear it. Like Connecticut never had someone in the national team, I think, at the Olympic
Not for
level.
many, many, many years.
They never
They
have it.
had national.
You know, even Riley McCusker, she had to leave the States, move to New York, and then move to New Jersey to make it. She left the States in level 7. You know, they never make someone, but every time when you hear someone talking, it's just like, oh, we didn't have Ali Reisman or Simone Biles walking in my gym. Like, neither they are coaches. You think Mihai Breșteanu had Alicia Sacramone and Ali Reisman walking in with a double layout? No. They took, I think Breșteanu, I don't know how real the story is, but I heard this story from some people. Mihai Breșteanu told Ali Reisman that she is the most unathletic Olympic champion that he ever coached, or something like that, you know? Like, think about, like, yeah, he worked with her very hard, like the men coach her, you know? It's the same thing for Valerie Lukin, it's the same thing for Chow, it's the same thing for all those coaches. They work with the athlete, you know? Look at Gabby Douglas. Gabby Douglas, before she moved to Chow, no, she was falling in every competition. She was inconsistent. She couldn't perform. She couldn't. Then once of a sudden, she moved to a coach that understood her, looked at her, you know what I mean, and took out of her the Olympic champions in 2012 in London. You know, the first black gymnast to ever win all around. That's history. You know, she made history. Why? Because her coach knew how to take that out of her. Understand? Pay attention to her.
Well, and it goes back to what you said before, the impact that you're making and realizing that you don't, and we said this in past episodes about athletes, that they cannot value themselves based upon what level that they compete or what skills they've attained. They have to realize their importance, and they have to be remembering who they are as a person and value themselves based on their morals and how they approach people and their intent in their intention in life. And it's the same for coaches. You're not more important just because you coach someone at the Olympic level, or you're less important just because you only know how to teach somebody a cartwheel, because that neither of those two things play any role in how much that child is going to remember the emotional impact that you left on them. That can be the same. Sometimes, like you said, it's more prevalent for someone who is less athletically inclined than someone who it comes naturally to. So for someone who's a very new coach that's just starting off, they need to be patient, but they need to be proud of themselves, and they need to walk in the gym smiling and happy and realizing that they are very special in that child's life, and they have that ability to be that prominent figure in their life. It doesn't matter that they can only teach them a cartwheel or a back walkover or something that's a novice level skill. As long as they're honest about the skill level that they can teach up to, which is a little bit of a separate topic, you have to be honest about that. You cannot mislead someone that you're capable of more than you are, because that's dangerous, and it's also morally wrong, because you're misguiding their dream. But if you do the very best job to uplift that child and make them understand more than the physical, make them understand the emotional of what they're doing, make them learn to be proud of themselves, that they've made a large attempt at something, that they're persevering when they're struggling with it. They learn the tools how to focus on what they want rather than what they have yet to achieve, and then their self-confidence grows. Those are all things you can do when you first start off coaching. And yes, of course, you're going to encounter different scenarios that are going to challenge you and help you learn better how to do that if you're paying attention, because you, like he said before, you don't walk in on your first day with all of those answers. And it is challenging, and every athlete is different. Every athlete is going to process emotionally differently, and they have different triggers. You know, every single practice, sometimes it could be the most confident kid in the world, and they have this one thing that's like their Achilles heel that all of a sudden shuts them down emotionally. And you need to be there, like he said, also in their worst moment, to figure out how to bring them back up. And
I understand. They have to feel comfortable. Like, they have to to not worry about it. I always tell my girls in the gym, to not worry about it. I'm like, if you make a mistake, if you fail, if you make the most embarrassing execution, I'm your coach. I want you to have the most comfort in me.
Right.
Because nobody else in that arena is going to comfort. Understand? I'm the one that you represent. You are my mirror when you go on that competition floor in that arena. You represent my work. Then I have to be the one that gonna comfort you, right? I tell my athletes all the time, like, when you win, we win. When you lose, we lose. It's not like when you win, we win together. I'm there, bravo, look, I'm the coach. And then when the athlete has a bad performing, a poor performing, I'm walking out the arena, I'm like, I don't know this girl. I have no idea what gym she's going to. You know, she's not my athlete. No. You have to be, in both situations, you have to be there the same. Although, let's be honest, right? When the athlete win, you feel good, right? Positive,
you're excited, yeah.
Right? When the athlete loses or does a mistake, obviously emotionally as a coach, you're going to feel it. You're not emotionless,
Right.
but you can show it to the athlete. That's the tricky part.
It has to be an unconditional care.
Understand? Like for me, I control my emotions. I don't show them. Like even though I get frustrated, like she falls off the beam. Obviously, I'm not going to like it. I don't want my athlete to come in the last place. Every coach is like that. But I'm not going to go there and tell the athlete, like, what did you do? Like, you are crazy. Look what mistake you did. Like, you didn't. Like, no. You give her a high five. Let's go next event and we're going to talk in the gym. We're going to fix the mistake and, make her comfortable. My coaches used to do that with me. And I'm going to be honest. Like, that's how it was. I don't give them an excuse. But my society, when I grew up, that's how the whole society was. Understand? I don't think so. My coaches today, if I take, for example, my first coach in gymnastics, and I have him here in America the way it is today and the way it was when I came to America, I don't think so he will treat me the way he treat me. And if I compare with how the other coaches in the gym will treat their athletes, he was the one that treat us the nicest. Understand? Every other athlete in the gym will be like, man, I want to have your coach. Then now think about how bad the other ones were. Understand? Then you have to take that in consideration too. But also what I want to say is this, that coaches, they have to understand that coaching, that's why I say don't coach with ego, and coach the athlete. Don't coach the athlete based on the fact that you asked me in the past episode, what happened if the athlete quit, right? The coaches think about like, oh, but why I'm going to coach her because she's going to quit. No, it's 10 years before she makes it to the Olympics. She can quit at any time, right? You can't do that. You can't have those thoughts in your head. And you know why? Because as a coach, you have many chances, many opportunities. A coach career is long. You can coach up to 75 years old, even 80. My last coach was almost 80. He'll come in the gym. Yeah, he will not spot me, but he could give me an advice. And I didn't need a spot because I was older enough to be able to do things on my own. But the athlete has one opportunity, one career, one chance, one walk on the road, on the rope. Understand? You have to give them the right opportunity. You have to give them the right tools. You have to give them the honest advice and guidance for them to achieve that dream, because they don't have another opportunity other than that. Because for me, for example, I'm 47 years old now, right? Let's say I have some very good 4 or 5 years old in the gym, right? By the time I'm 57, one of them is going to be at the Olympic level, or all of them, hopefully, right? Then they quit in 3 years, 4 years. Do I think about that? No. And you know why? Because in this time, 100% sure I'm going to get another girl that's very good. My chances to get someone that's very good is more than for them to get a chance to get a coach that's going to give them the right opportunity and the right training. Make sense how I'm explaining?
Yes, but what you're trying to emphasize is that you're focused on the present and what they're taking away from that right then, even though their interaction could be, you have to know their interaction can be temporary.
Yes.
They could quit at any day. So you have to make sure that every day that they're with you, they're learning something that can last them a lifetime, which is more than the skill you're teaching them. They have to know you're there for their skills, and they have to feel that you want to help them improve their skills, because that's what they want.
Professionally correct, not based on the fact that she may quit.
Right.
Because if you coach like that with that idea in your head, you're never going to make anybody. Understand? You're never going to make a champion, because the chance of someone stopping the sport for different reasons, especially in America, is 99%. That's why the chances to make it to the Olympics is 0.001%.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, then yes, it's a small opportunity, but when you coach that athlete, you don't coach with that mindset for yourself, because your opportunities as a coach are many. For the athlete is one. Understand? Like in a team, you have 50 girls. Out of 50 girls, one can be a champion. But those 50 girls individually, they have one chance. Each girl has one chance. You have 50. Understand? When I have a team of 50 girls, right? I have 50 chances. But my each athlete out of the 50, they have one chance each.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to take that in consideration. They don't have another opportunity. Then you cannot ruin that for them just because you don't care. If you don't care, guide them to someone who cares.
Right.
Right. Well, in the beginning of each episode, it is what Mark mentioned before. We say that you have the power, or you have the possibility to illuminate or extinguish the dreams of your athletes, and you need to make sure that you're illuminating them and you're not extinguishing them, especially inadvertently. You have to hold yourself accountable and you have to pay attention, because like he said, in the instance that there are 50 of them, all 50 have to feel important. All 50 have to feel that you care for them. You have to reach all 50 of them on a personal level in order for them to walk away from that sport and feel well about their experience and not feel damaged by it. And I mean, unfortunately, we are in a sport where notoriously girls or boys, whoever it is, they walk away from the sport in the end, and they do have some sort of feeling of damage from the sport. And that's what we want to prevent from continuing to happen. And that's part of why we started having these episodes, because things like this, we all need this reminder that nobody needs to walk away feeling damaged. We need to teach athletes how to value themselves, but we also need to be more mindful of how we approach them, and the role that we play in their life and how large that role can be. You have the possibility to be a memorable figure in someone's life. That's such a great thing, that not everybody gets, but I think everybody should inspire. Oh my goodness, aspire to be.
She's copying my English now. She's living with an immigrant and she start like picking up on the bad English.
Everyone should aspire to be a memorable person in someone else's life. And how are they going to remember you? I think one of the most beautiful things is having a student years later down the road, and same thing, could be somebody that they were only able to ever do a cartwheel, come back and send you out of the blue a message about the impact that you made on their life. I wish every
One thing,
coach
look, it's
could
funny.
experience
It's
this.
very funny. I have this girl when I come in America. Was one of my first private to do in America, private lesson. We don't have private lesson in my country. Maybe now, but at the time I didn't know what
You
private
didn't,
lesson
yeah.
is. I was actually embarrassed to get paid by the parent, but that's another story. And she was a dancer, and she wants to learn, I think, an aerial and a handspring step out on the floor. And I barely speak English at the time. And I thought about myself because I didn't speak English. Like I told you, remember when I said I was a little bit depressed that I don't know how to coach gymnastics anymore, because I was not coaching high level. I was coaching very low level with kids that they was not getting ready for the Olympics. They was like normal kids, or they all come from different sports where a back handspring step out, like in dance, it's a hard trick. But in gymnastics, it's like basic. And I was thinking, I did such a poor job with this girl. Like the whole time, like I was beating myself down. Now this girl is like in her 30, maybe, right?
I think about, yeah.
Yeah. She has a dance studio,
She works in a dance studio.
or she works in a dance studio. She sent her student to us, but she sent one of her students for Ashley to do her floor choreography. And the mother, when she brought the girls in, she tells me, it's like, oh my gosh, she told me such a nice words about you. She told me this. And I was shocked because I didn't expect her to feel that way. I didn't expect to have that impact on her.
especially because you
because I
didn't work
didn't
to
see
say
it at the
that.
time. I didn't have. You see, I said I didn't have the experience. Understand? And for me, I thought I'm.
You didn't feel important.
Yes, I
Like
didn't feel that
you didn't know you could
important
be that prevalent in
because even
someone's
in my
life.
country, the culture was not like that. Understand?
Right.
The culture was simple. You, the coach, is the athlete. Boom, boom, boom. Goes to the Olympic or not going to the Olympic. You good or you're not good. That's it. Understand? But I didn't see it out of that just competition environment. You know, when this girl, like after so many years, and she has nothing to do with gymnastics. And the thing she said, I was like, I was shocked. I was like, wow. And for her to send her students to our gym because that's where she felt. She told the mother, like, if you want her to learn an aerial, Michael is the one who teach her. He
Wow.
taught me. I was,
And she was someone that you did only work with briefly. It
yes,
wasn't years and years and years of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why it's so important to walk in
yes.
and realize, like, just that single day, if you only had one day with someone,
Mm-hmm.
how would you want them to remember you? And that has to be your everyday reminder. Like, think about it like that. If this was your last day with that student, what would you want them to remember about it? and and just hold that in your heart and project it when you go into the gym or the arena wherever you coach.
Because that goes in life. Because you see this girl, or I have other girls that come to the gym. Sometimes they finish college and they come back and they're like, you know, like, you teach me to work hard. You teach me to not give up. You teach me to do this. And then I go to college and I did it in college. And now look at me, like, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm
Mm-hmm.
this, I'm that. Like, you see it. And yeah, she didn't go to the Olympics, but guess what? She's a doctor. She has a good life,
Wow.
right?
Right.
She has a good career.
And she
You
attributes
you
it to
taught
her
her
time with
something
you.
more because you see, like, when you teach someone a handstand, it's a simple trick, right? It's an easy trick. But maybe for that person, that trick is like doing a 4 flips out of the high bar.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? When you teach her how to do that and she struggles so much, you also teach her how to be resilient, how to push
Mm-hmm.
through things, hard things, right? How to desire to achieve because she has to work hard, right? Then she takes that lesson, which is just not the technical lesson, the psychological part of learning the technical trick,
Right.
and goes with her in life. Understand? She brings it in school. She brings it in her job later in life. And she performs like a champion as an adult.
Right.
That's why we talk about illuminating champion, like being an Olympic champion in sport athletically and being an Olympic champion in life. You don't need to win a gold medal in Olympics to be an Olympian in life. You have the Olympian mentality. That's the goal of the Olympic Games too, and the Olympic athletes.
Mm-hmm.
The Olympic athletes want to, what's the word? They use it on Instagram, and you have a lot of followers. You are what they said.
Influence.
Yes, influencer.
Influence.
They
Right.
want to influence people, regular people, to believe in achieving great things, big things, right? That's why it's important. We talked in the past episode. It's important to teach young kids to do sport at a young age and teach them to want to be the best and teach them to compete and want to win, but also teach them to lose. Give them the room to lose. Let them lose. Teach them to lose with pride, as much pride as they have when they win, because they did put like you explained them. No, you did put the work to go to that competition, whatever the sport was. You did push yourself to practice. Just because you had a bad execution doesn't mean that you are not valuable. You are as valuable, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what makes you guys great coaches. We talked a lot about in this episode what it takes to make a great coach. You have to love the sport. You have to know the sport. You have to love the
Right.
sport. You have to love people, get to know people. And when you wrap all that together around the responsibility of, as you said, carrying the lantern for their dreams to show, helping them see the way, I think you've redefined the concept of coaching to me. And I think probably to a lot of these listeners that, coaching has a lot of facets, but maybe the most important is the goal of helping people become a champion in life, not just winning in a sport.
Right. And, for a coach, I think you need to realize that you're more than a skills coach. You're a luminary figure. You have this power to illuminate someone's dreams, to illuminate all that is good and powerful within them to strive and achieve. And then they're also going to notice how you did it and they're going to mimic it. So then when they see someone else, they see a peer that's struggling, or when they're an adult, they see their own child that's struggling to do something. They can think back to how you approached them and things you told them and how you made them feel in those really tough moments. And then they can kindly mimic in their own and transform it into their own way, and spread that light onto someone else. And then that light continues spreading. And that's why we use examples of torches or lanterns or candles. It's, you always have this way that you can spread a light of positivity and warmth through what you're doing.
What you look for in the darkness?
Right.
Darkness.
Darkness. Darkness.
Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Darkness. What you look for? Light.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The same thing in life, right? Like when you struggle with something, it's like a dark moment. Then that athlete, what they look for? Light. Who brings the light? The coach. Mm-hmm. It's your job to put that light for the athletes to see it, right? They are in a dark tunnel. Mm-hmm. You put the light on the other side and you guide them through it, right?
Right.
You show them where the outside is or how they walk to the end of that dark tunnel. Right. That's your job.
And you show them there's always light.
You know,
within
it's
darkness.
Always light.
Yeah.
It's always light. Light is always coming after the night lights come, right? Mm-hmm. It's always like that. It's a cycle. It's a little dark and a little light, right? Mm-hmm. But that's why it's important. Like we start the discussion in the beginning with financial and business. And yes, it's a business in America. It's not unfortunate. It's a capitalist country. It's a good thing. Even for me, I love it. You know, and my country is all governmental. Like it's. They give you what they give you. Right. You depend on what they tell you to do and how they tell you to do it. Here you have the freedom to decide for your own gym or sport complex how you want to be, how you want to run the business, you know. But at the end of the day, you cannot treat it as a business, your relation with an athlete, understand?
Well, it's not cold. It's not, you know, you're not mass producing things. It's not the same relationship.
You don't make a product,
right?
Understand? You don't make a product.
You're part of the process of molding an amazing person.
Yeah, but it's
a warm interaction. It's not.
It's a soul product. Understand? Like that product that you make has a soul, has a heart.
Soul. Yes.
You don't make a TV. Understand?
Right.
And you didn't like it. You say, okay, I'm gonna tie this screw here and that screw there, or I'm going to buy another one, I'm going to make another one. No, you can't. You as a coach, that's why, once again, that's why I told you, as a coach, you see, you have more opportunities, but that athlete doesn't have it. Mm-hmm. Understand? That TV that you make it wrong doesn't have life, doesn't have feelings.
Right.
Understand? But the athlete has. And if you ruin it for him, for her, they going to feel it. Like my biggest pain out of sport came out of how they treat me. Understand? What I didn't achieve because of the way the system was. Understand? They didn't let me go to this competition. They didn't give me this opportunity or that opportunity, or they took that opportunity for me. Understand? Those things haunt me.
Haunt.
Yes. Took me time to cope with stuff like this. Mm-hmm. You know, for example, in 2000 at the Olympic Games, I was first time I didn't watch the Olympics at all. I didn't watch the opening. I didn't watch the closing ceremony. I didn't watch anything. The only thing I watched was my friend at the time competing pommel horse, Marius Surzik. I watched him because he was my friend. And I want to see him qualifying in the final and winning the final. And even to watch that was painful for me emotionally to watch it. Mm-hmm. Because I knew I could be there. I was almost there. But because of this, that was out of my control. Understand?
Yeah.
Right.
And those are very painful things to deal with. Physical pain is much easier to deal with. Yes. Emotional pain,
right, lasts forever.
Yes.
And it's can be damaging. You know, you understand? Like you say, people don't kill themselves because their finger hurts. Mm-hmm. Their heart hurts, and they get to that moment when they take their life. Mm-hmm. It's not physical, and people have to understand those things too. You can't. Emotional pain is the most damaging pain.
Right.
Physical pain, it's temporary. Mm-hmm. Goes, boom. But emotional stays with you. You know, look at people that look at soldiers that come back from war zones and wartime, right? And they come back and they have PTSD. Why? Mm-hmm. It's not the physical that hurts them. It's the emotion that hurts them. They go to sleep at night and they close the eyes and they see the friend exploding into pieces, understand? And that thing cannot get out of their head, and they get to the point where they kill themselves. And you look at it, it's like how this green beret guy that fought 20 Talibans by himself put a bullet in his head. That's how, because emotionally he couldn't take it. It was too much pain.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that once again, that's why as a coach you have to pay attention to the emotional part.
Yes.
Because it's very painful, you know, and it's very hard to see it. Because sometimes you see people that are competitive, they don't show it, they cover it with stubbornness, with cockiness, with, you know.
Right. Well, again, you're working with very young people too. You have to be very, very careful of their, their
In
personality.
gymnastics, yes, you have young people, but for me, discussion was like a general, like
Right.
Sure.
Well, and
for
I think
everybody.
adding to what you said before about that you're not producing a product like a TV, it's not something where you can be like, oh, I forgot to put a screw over here and now the whole thing fell apart. I'll just try it again.
Right.
You don't have that luxury of
You
doing
create
that
a
because
mental
that's
block, like in gymnastics,
somebody's
you can create a
right.
mental block that never go away.
That's somebody's life, that's somebody's soul and their emotions. And you have to hold yourself to the highest standards of integrity and the highest level of accountability, because it's not like a company that is mass producing product where you have quality control. Like you need to be your own quality control.
Look,
all the time. Yeah.
I'm going to give you an example. Look at the best gymnast in the world that everybody is amazed by. And she's a great athlete, don't take me wrong. Simone Biles.
Mm-hmm.
As great as she is, and as great as she was, she had to quit at the Olympics because she had twisties. I had twisties in gymnastics. She's not the first one to have it. A lot of gymnasts have twisties, you know. But how she got to that? You see, nobody talks about that. They are just like, oh, it's mental problem. Really? It's just mental problem? How Simone Biles got to have twisties? Wasn't that a mismanage of coaching? Maybe the coaches let her too much to do all those hard tricks, and the coaches was a little bit cocky too, because look at me, I'm coaching this athlete that does double flip with triple twist and all that crazy stuff that nobody else is capable to do it,
Or can be, they didn't protect
because
her
look,
from herself.
I'm
It's
gonna
many
give you an example,
variables.
and that's a technical example. Twisting normally, most of the twists, they start on bar or vault, and then they transfer. They can transfer to floor. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
But for example, her vault, she used to do, it's called Amonar, which my teammate back home in Romania invented. Simona Amonar invented. And you see, that's other difference. In America, you invent a trick because you want to do it. Simona Amonar had to do that trick. She didn't really come in the gym and be like, I'm going to do Amonar. No, her coach came in the gym and said, you're going to do this trick. And then they name it after her. But anyways, she used to do Amonar. That's on vault is called, it's the entrance on the vault is the same with a double pike and a half that she does. It's a Yurchenko, it's a round-off and a handspring. The entrance into the vault, it's very similar, but it's different because it's different speed, it's different point of impact, it's different push of the vault. Like for Amonar, you don't snap so much to have rotation. You go a little bit up, straighter to have just the twisty rotation. You don't want to have rotation this way, understand? Because that makes you, if you rotate too fast and twist at the same time, you're going to lose your vestibular. You're not going to feel where the ceiling is and the floor is, And they let her do the double and a half pie. And I was watching in 2020, was right, during COVID? 6 months before Olympics, right? I saw it on Instagram. And I told her, she's going to have problems. Because they let her do this vault, and I hope they're going to take off the twisty vault, the Amonar. Because if she does this vault, she's not going to feel the rotation on the other one. She's going to rotate too fast. Right? And that happened at the Olympics. They got to the Olympics. She tried to do the Amonar. She over-rotated. She lost control. And then everybody was like, oh my God. Like, yeah, you mismanaged her. Did the coaches do it on purpose? I don't think so. You know what I mean? But they also have to take a little bit of
accountability.
Yes.
And I think, this is diving a little bit into a new subject, which we're definitely going to do an episode on. And which is needing for coaches, to be more open and share things that are going on with their athlete and where something could have gone wrong. And don't be afraid to say, like, look, this happened. We need to find out why.
Mm-hmm.
Once
And
again, you see, like at the Olympics when that happened, I called it before, years before. I said that she's gonna break down. After the 2016 Olympics, I watched her, and that's true story. Everybody in my gym, all the customers, like I will talk to them and they will watch, because we watch with the kids sometimes gymnastics on TV, and I always tell them like she is going to break down because they let her run just out of her own power. They're
Mm-hmm.
not guiding her correctly, And when that happened, I said it right before the vault. She was walking towards the vault, and I was watching in the gym. I was with my girls, my gymnast, and the parents was in the gym, and I was sitting by the wall, and I watched, and I saw her, and I said, "I'm like, she's going to fall." Like you could see it her emotionally. And then she fell, and everybody was like, "How do you know? Like you can see it. Like how the coaches
Mm-hmm.
didn't see it, understand? But did the coaches do it in purpose? That's my question. No, obviously.
Right. Right.
But you have to go there and you have to look at it and you have to come out and say, look, this is what happened. We shouldn't do this. For example, she competed the other day. She competed national. She come back yesterday. And her coaches they said that, how they said it correct in English? That it's not worth it for her because now she's not doing very difficult
twisting
things. It's not worth it. They realize it's not worth it. I'm like, yeah, you realize now, but is really not worth it, or she's not yet back correctly. Understand? Even that, you have to be honest, because that's how you help. You see, you ask about the coaches that don't have the experience. That's how you help them. A coach with experience and a coach with a very big name athlete coming out publicly and being honest, people learn from that.
Yes.
Right.
And you help the environment change. For me, we post like right after the Olympics, right after that thing happened. She posted on her Instagram. She wrote a very nice post about what we think happened with Simone. And some people got very upset about it because they're like, oh, no, you have to have a discussion about it. You cannot just throw it under the rug as mental problems.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? Her coaches has to come out and talk about it. They have to question themselves, like, okay, why did this happen? My opinion, I told you, is the Yurchenko 1.5 pike took her timing off with the Amanat. Understand? And you have another thing. You have the PTSD with Larry Nassar. Like she was going back to the Olympics, where I think Larry Nassar's situation with her happened at the Olympics. The people that are they was a list of 20 something people from the American Olympic Committee that they have to resign. That they was involved in that case. They are still part of USA Gymnastics. They just change offices. Like nobody ban them or suspend them and take them out of the sport. Then she has to face these people every day. That's another stress. Like obviously it's a lot of
There's
things
many
over there,
variables that need to be taken into consideration.
But her coaches should come out and be like, look, this is what bothers our athlete. Can we change it?
Because you never want to have another Simone Biles circumstance. We're now at the peak of this amazing athlete's career. They are now going on a mental wellness journey. And she is now having to recover and work with a therapist in recovery.
Why they didn't have a therapist for her, for example?
Rather than as
after
a preventative
the 2016 Olympics.
measure.
Have a therapist for her in the gym. If she doesn't want to work with a therapist as a coach, I will have a therapist. I will tell her, like, listen, honey, I'm just going to have this person here and they're going to talk to me. They're not going to talk to you, but they're going to give me the guidance to help you. Understand? And I will have that person sit over there, watch the practice. And then at the end of practice, I will talk to them every day and I will have them help me understand her. Understand?
So I think to tie off this episode, the main point is how fragile that lantern of dreams that you're carrying as a coach is, and that you need to be mindful of that. You need to make sure you're always lighting the way for your athlete. You need to make sure that you don't drop that lantern, even if it's inadvertently, because you didn't pay enough attention to someone emotionally, or you're not capable of going back and reevaluating where something maybe went wrong and you're having trouble discussing that. You always need to self-reflect, because on the opposite end of your self-reflection is another human being who's looking at you for guidance, and they're looking at you for care, and they're on the receiving end of everything that you do, and they are going to carry it with them, in their entire life. And you want to make sure that they're carrying lightness that in their heart, in their life, not this feeling of darkness because of their interaction with you. And that was the main message of this little bit of a complex episode that
Mhm.
opened up some other
Complex.
areas that we
Right.
do want to
I'm
dive
very
into,
complex.
because it is necessary. Even though it sounds heavy, they are things that need to be looked upon so that we can all better the atmosphere for these athletes, and make sure we are protecting their mental and emotional well-being, and not just aiming for the gold medal, as we've spoken about in other episodes. And that's our job as coaches, and
And
that's
especially not the gold medal and not the gold medal at all costs.
right.
Understand? You don't step on the bodies to make them an Olympic champion. It's not fair. Like I said in the past episode, the job of the coach is also sometimes to protect the athletes from themselves or from whatever environment, no? And you have that power to throw that towel. Like you take the athlete out of the sport arena, you take the athlete in a safe space, you guide them to a safe space if they need it. Doesn't matter in that moment if the athlete needs that safe guard from you as a coach. The titles don't matter, the Olympic games don't matter, the world championships don't matter. What matters is the well-being of that athlete.
Right. Well, and that was Simone's message that she
Yes.
tried to say after the Olympics. She removed herself because she felt like
Yeah, but
she
you see,
had to,
even there, like it's something that
which
bothers me a lot. Even
she
there,
shouldn't have to have been the one
yes,
to do
even
that
there, like she came on the TV
in the
after
press
in an interview in
conference.
a press conference, and she said it like I had to tell the coaches no. Like the coaches tried to send her back, and they did send her back. Like they let her, she did a vault, she crashed on the mat. They sent her to the uneven bars to warm up, and then she stopped doing it. Then they take her to the second event. Like if I was the coach on the floor at that moment, you see it that happened. The twisty happens in training. Like she did it before getting to the competition.
And she was vocal about
Understand?
it too.
And then the coaches knew that she has that problem. First of all, they should put her to do a different vault than that one. She's capable to do many other vaults. When that happened, when that situation happened, if I was the coach, I would take her out of the competition right then with a doctor. And I will make the doctor lie for her if I need to, just to make her feel good. Take her out of like with the pride, understand? I'll tell the doctor, like tell them that she stretch her knee too much and we take her to the hotel and let her relax and that's it. And maybe by the all around final, she's going to be fine. You know what I mean? But they sent her to the parallel bar. She got more upset and maybe, obviously she got embarrassed. She's Simone Biles, right?
Mhm.
You get that embarrassing moment because the whole arena is watching you. And then she had to quit. She had to convince them, I don't want to do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. They didn't throw the towel for her. She threw it. And that's what bothers me because nobody after that Olympic Games came out and be like, you know what? We did it wrong. Because they did it wrong. The coaches in that moment did it wrong. The national team coach, and I don't know her personal coach's relation with the national team coach, but as a personal coach, I will not let you put my athlete in the competition in that moment. My athlete will be in the hotel room in a jacuzzi relaxing in that
Yeah.
situation. Understand? And they sent her back and she had to tell them like, no, I can't do it anymore. And
Right.
besides this, they put more stress on the team. They put stress on the girl that had to cover for her, you know.
It was the most awful situation that you never ever want to encounter. So I think that's our main message, is that we want to start having these type of discussions that are raw and are honest so that we can better the atmosphere for our athletes. We need to be their safeguard. We need to be their guiding light. And we want to say thank you to everyone for listening. As we
Yes.
know, these topics, they are controversial. They get heated sometimes, but we think that by discussing them, we can only lead to something better for our athletes.
And look, all these discussions that I talk about, they come from my heart professionally, understand? I'm not trying to berate those people. It's just what I see professionally. Like if I was in that situation, how I would react. And that's how I thought about it. If I was the
Right.
athlete, how I want my coaches to react to me. Because I was an athlete in that situation, understand? That's why I make those comments.
Right.
Well, I think
Remember,
you've
I
given us
told you.
great insight. You've given us great insight into the heart of a coach. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really illuminating for lots of people. So thanks for going
Thank.
so deep and so passionate about it.
No, listen. I'm passionate about it.
We
I love
care to
this
learn
sport, and
from
I
it,
care.
you know?
And even for me, like I care to learn more. Then how I'm gonna learn more if people don't talk about those situations, you know? And I was the athlete at the end of that outcome. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
I had twists. Remember, I told you I had an accident on high bar, very bad one. And then after that, I start having twists, and I was on the end of that, especially on vault. I know how it feels. Understand? And I know how it feels if the coach doesn't give you the right tool in that moment. Understand? And that's why, like, I brought up this subject because it's not just Simone. Simone was the one that was at the highest levels and everybody saw her. But there are many Simones everywhere
Right.
in the world that have these
Mhm.
problems from different type of situations. Understand?
Well, I think what we want to see is like Simone was the one, she was the peak. She was the epitome of all of gymnastics. Everybody considered her to be the greatest gymnast in the world. So if that could happen to even her, then that should have stopped the world in that moment to evaluate the larger picture of what's going on and how can we prevent it from ever happening again and do the best job we can to safeguard our athletes. So that's what we want to see more of. That's why we're trying to have these discussions to really dissect what went wrong and how we can prevent that, because that's a horrible feeling for the athlete to have to go through.
And that's why I said coaching with no ego.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the ego is not there, then you're capable to sit down and clearly see things, understand? And
Mhm.
then you're able to step away from it and be like, okay, let's stop here. Because you don't have the ego of, no, you have to go to win. You have to bring that gold medal home. That's when those things happen, when the ego is there, understand? Because when you have that ego, you're blind by the shine of the gold medal, by the shine of the
Mhm.
trophy. When the ego is not there, then you can step out and you can look at it and take the right decision for the athlete, not for your goal. My
That's
goal is
right.
to make an Olympic champion. I always say that. I want to make it. It's my biggest dream is to be on the Olympic floor, hear the American anthem and see that flag going up. I think I will be first time crying in public, you know?
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that I'm just going to walk in the gym and that girl that I see has the potential, I'm just going to force her through it. No, I'm going to look at her through her uh, emotions,
Mm-hmm.
understand? I'm going to look at her through her ego. What's her ego? How much her ego is pushing herself, understand? Do I have to protect her from her ego? Do I have to teach her to have a little bit bigger ego, bigger desire to be successful, understand? What do I have to do for her correctly? Because my ego doesn't the push my thinking process, understand?
Mm-hmm. It's
And
an
then you think humbly.
Yeah, it's an athlete-centered approach,
Yes,
and that's what we want to spark
yes,
with these
yes.
discussions. So thank you so
Thank you.
much,
Thank you,
everyone, for
everybody, for watching.
listening.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
always very good at bringing up subjects like this.
Right? You guys have a lot of talent and a lot of passion, and I'm learning every day more about coaching as I listen to you. So
You know
my
what's
pleasure.
funny? We learn too. That's the other thing. Talking to you and talking in front of the camera, it's funny since we start doing this. Even for me, I feel like myself like it's changing. Understand? Like
Mhm.
my mind, my approach to the sport, the way I see things start changing. Because I
Yeah,
guess for a long time I never vocalize my thinking process. Understand? I keep it.
sure.
I was taught to keep it inside, and now when I speak loud and I hear it,
Yeah.
things change.
That's
Well,
why it's
life is
so
on the job.
important for coaches and athletes to talk,
Yes,
because
Well,
it's
life
very
is on
important.
the job training. We got to do it a little every day. If we pay attention, we're getting
right.
better.
Thank you for listening to Illuminating Champions. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for our next episode.